The cafe smelled like cinnamon and burnt sugar, the kind of warm smell that promised comfort, even when the world didn't. Soft jazz played from a corner speaker. Couples leaned close over candles. A barista laughed behind the counter. Outside, rain tapped the windows like impatient fingers dotted a table near the glass. Ava Mercer sat in a wheelchair, wearing a pale blue dress she had chosen 3 times, before finally daring to wear .2 cups weighed at .1 was still untouched. Then her phone. Buzzed. A message lit up the screen like a slap. "Sorry, I can't do this. Good luck." Ava stared at it until her eyes burned, and while the room kept smiling around her, she sat there alone, trying not to cry. Before we go deeper, where are you watching from today? Drop your city or country in the comments. It's strange how one lonely moment can reach so many hearts at once. Ava had promised herself she wouldn't make a scene. She sat up straight, shoulders back like she was wearing invisible armor. She kept her hands folded neatly in her lap so no one could see them shaking. Her hair was curled, makeup soft, lipstick just enough to feel like herself again, but her chest felt tight, like the air had turned heavy. Across the table, the empty chair looked louder than any voice. A waiter approached with a polite smile. "Would you like to order for 2? He asked. Ava's throat closed. She forced a small smile back. "Not yet," she said quietly. "He's running late." The waiter nodded, but his eyes flicked down to the wheelchair for half a second. Too fast, too practiced. Ava noticed anyway. People always looked. Some looked with pity. Some looked with curiosity. Some looked away like disability was contagious. Tonight, Ava had hoped someone would look at her the way they look at a first date. Nervous, excited, interested. Instead, her phone still glowed with that message. She turned the screen off and stared at the candle flame, willing it not to tremble the way she was trembling inside. Her first date in nearly 2 years. Her first date since the accident. She remembered the night she met Mark online. His profile photo showed him in hiking gear, smiling big like life had never punched him. He'd messaged her first, not with pity, not with a "you're inspiring," but with a joke about her taste in movies. Ava had laughed. A real laugh. They talked for weeks, then voice calls, then a video call where she had angled the camera carefully so he wouldn't see the chair at first. But he had seen it anyway. She had watched his eyes flicker, watched him recover and say, "That's okay." He had still asked her out. Ava had believed him. She had taken extra time getting ready tonight. She had asked her neighbor to help zip the dress at the back. She had practiced breathing exercises because excitement still scared her, because excitement always came with the fear of disappointment. Mark had texted, "I'm outside." Ava's heart had lifted. Then 10 minutes later, the message came. "Sorry, I can't do this." No explanation. No apology that meant anything. Just rejection wrapped in a thin sentence. Ava blinked slowly, forcing her eyes dry. "Don't cry here," she told herself. "Don't give them a show." A couple at the table beside her laughed loudly. The woman leaned into the man's shoulder and whispered, "Something sweet?" The man kissed her forehead like it was the easiest thing in the world. Ava's stomach twisted. She glanced at the cafe entrance. Every time the door opened, her body reacted like hope was a reflex she couldn't kill. But it was never him. It was always someone else. A woman with a stroller, a group of friends, a man carrying takeout with a grin. Ava's phone buzzed again. For one wild second, she thought Mark had changed his mind, but it was her best friend, Jenna. "How's it going?" "I'm so excited for you." Ava stared at the text until her vision blurred. She didn't want to answer, because answering would make it real. Across the cafe, a kid laughed high and bright. Ava looked up and saw a little girl at a table near the counter, swinging her feet under the chair. She was eating a giant cookie, crumbs all over her cheeks like she didn't care how messy Joy was. A man sat with her mid-30s, worn jacket, tired eyes. He looked like someone who worked too much and slept too little. He wasn't dressed fancy, just jeans, sneakers, and a faded hoodie. A single dad, Ava guessed. The little girl leaned close to him and whispered something. The dad smiled and wiped her cheek gently. Ava looked away quickly because watching someone else's tenderness hurt. The waiter returned. His smile was smaller this time. "Would you like me to bring the check for the drinks?" he asked, careful and quiet. Ava's face heated. "Yes," she whispered. The words tasted like humiliation. She reached for her wallet, hands shaking. Now, her fingers fumbled the zipper dot. It was a small thing. Just a zipper, but suddenly, it felt like the whole night was fighting her. She dropped a coin. It rolled under the table. Ava froze, staring at it. Dot. If she bent down, she might tip forward. She could do it, but not gracefully. And right now, grace felt like the only dignity she had left. Dot, so she sat still, pretending the coin didn't exist. The check arrived. Ava placed her card on it quickly, desperate to escape. Her throat burned, not because Mark left, because some part of her had started to believe she deserved to be chosen again. When the waiter walked away, Ava finally let herself breathe out, shaky and quiet. And that's when she noticed something. The single dad at the counter was looking at her. Dot, not staring, not pitying, just noticing. His little girl followed his gaze. She looked at Ava's wheelchair, then at Ava's face. Then the girl did something that made Ava's chest tighten. She slid off her chair, walked toward Ava's table, and before the dad could stop her, the little girl stood beside Ava and asked, in the softest voice, "Are you waiting for someone? Or did someone hurt your feelings?" Ava's lips parted. She didn't trust her voice. The little girl's eyes were big and serious, like she could sense pain the way dogs sense storms. Ava tried to smile. "I'm fine," she whispered automatically. The girl shook her head. "No," she said simply. "You look like my dad when he says he's fine." Behind her, the dad stood up quickly, face embarrassed. "Sweetheart," he began, hurrying over. He reached the table and gave Ava an apologetic look. "I'm so sorry," he said. She talks to everyone." The little girl grabbed his hand and tugged him closer. "Dad," she whispered loudly. "She's sad. We should help." Ava felt the tears. "Press harder, because kindness in public was dangerous." Dot. "It made you cry." Dot. "It made you human." Dot. The dad looked at Ava again, really looked, and his expression softened. "Hi," he said gently. "I'm Ethan, and this is Lily." Ava swallowed. "Ava," she managed. Lily's voice came out like a bright beam. "Ava, do you want to sit with us? Not like move, like join." Ava blinked fast. Dot. Ethan hesitated, clearly worried about crossing a line. "Only if you want," he said. "No pressure. We just noticed you were alone." Ava's heart pounded because she was alone. Dot. And for the first time tonight. Someone had said it without making it ugly. Ava's first instinct was to say no. Dot. Not because she didn't want company, she did, but because rejection had just soaked through her like cold rain. And when you're soaked, you don't trust warmth. You wonder if it's real, or if it's just another way to be embarrassed. Ethan waited without pushing. Lily, however, didn't understand the rules adults use to protect their pride. She leaned, and slightly, eyes bright. "We can share," she said, pointing at the cookie on their table like it was a peace offering. "It's a big cookie, too big for me. Dad says sharing makes it taste better." Ava's lips trembled. Ethan gave a small, tired smile. "She's right," he said. "Most things taste better when you don't eat them alone." The words hit Ava harder than they should have. She glanced down at the empty chair across from her, then back at Lily's open face. Ava whispered, "Okay." Lily's grin lit up her whole body. "Yes," she said, then carefully pulled a chair out for Ethan like she was hosting an important dinner party. Ethan sighed, amused, and sat. Lily climbed back onto her seat, swinging her legs again. Ava rolled her wheelchair a little closer to their table. Her hands still shook, but now they had something else in them besides humiliation, a tiny thread of safety. Ethan kept his voice casual, like he wasn't rescuing anyone, just talking. "You come here often?" he asked. Ava shook her head. "First time," she admitted. Lily widened her eyes dramatically. "First time, and it's rainy," she said. "Rain means it's movie time weather." Ethan chuckled. "She judges life in movie scenes," he said. Ava surprised herself by smiling, small but real. "What kind of movies?" she asked Lily. "Happy ones," Lily said quickly. Then her face softened. "Or sad ones with happy endings?" Ava's throat tightened. Ethan glanced at Ava's untouched drink, then looked away politely, like he didn't want to pry. But Lily didn't have that restraint. "Were you waiting for a date?" Lily asked bluntly. Ethan's face went red. "Lily," but Ava exhaled, shaky. "Yes," she whispered. "I was." Lily's eyebrows knitted. "Where is he?" she asked, offended on Ava's behalf. Ava swallowed. "He left," she said, "before he came in." Lily's mouth dropped open. Then she did the most dangerous thing a child can do in an adult world. She got angry for someone else. "That's mean," Lily said firmly. "You don't leave people." Ethan's expression tightened with pain, like Lily had touched a bruise. "He carried too." "Sometimes people do," he said softly. Ava stared at her hands. "Maybe he panicked," she whispered, trying to be fair even in her hurt. "Maybe he wasn't ready." Lily leaned closer, voice serious. "My dad panics a lot," she said, "but he still shows up." Ethan blinked, surprised. "Hey," he murmured, half warning, half touched. Ava looked at Ethan. His eyes were tired but steady. He didn't look like a man who had it all together. He looked like a man who held life together anyway. Ava swallowed. "Thank you," she whispered, "for this." Ethan shrugged gently. "No one should sit alone with tears in their throat," he said. "Not in public." Ava laughed softly, bitter. "You noticed," she said. Ethan nodded. "I noticed lonely," he admitted. "I've been lonely." Lily reached into her pocket and pulled out 2 wrapped candies. She placed one in front of Ava like a tiny gift. "For later," she said, "when your heart feels heavy again." Ava's eyes burned. She picked up the candy like it was something priceless. Then, from the entrance of the cafe, a shadow fell across their table. Ava turned. Mark stood there. He looked uncomfortable, like the cafe air was too warm for him. His eyes flicked to Ethan, then to Lily, then to Ava's wheelchair, then away. He forced a smile but didn't reach his face. "Ava," he said, awkward. "Hey." Ava's stomach dropped. Ethan's posture shifted slightly, still calm, but protective in a quiet way. Lily stopped swinging her legs and stared at Mark like she could smell cowardice. Mark cleared his throat. I'm sorry," he said. "I got nervous. I didn't expect it to feel so real." Ava stared at him, lips pressed together. Mark stepped closer, hands raised like he was approaching a wild animal. He swallowed. "I've never dated someone in a wheelchair. I didn't know what to say. I didn't want to mess up." Ava's chest tightened. "So you left," she said quietly. Mark winced. "I know. It was wrong." Lily's small voice cut in like a blade. "My dad doesn't know what to say sometimes," she said, "but he doesn't run away." Mark blinked, startled. Hi," he said to Lily, forcing politeness. Lily didn't respond. She just stared. Ethan gently put a hand on Lily's shoulder. calming her. Then he looked at Mark, voice even. "What do you want?" he asked. Mark's cheeks flushed. "I want to apologize," he said, "and maybe try again." Ava's heart pounded. Two versions of herself fought inside her. One wanted to accept, because being chosen felt like oxygen. The other wanted to stand up for the wounded part of her that was tired of begging. Mark looked at Ava with pleading eyes. "I was scared," he said, "but I came back. Doesn't that count?" Ava's throat burned. Ethan stayed quiet. Lily, however, leaned forward slightly and asked, innocent but deadly, "Would you have come back if you didn't see other people sitting with her?" Mark's face froze. Silence dropped like a curtain. Ava stared at Mark's eyes and saw the truth. He hadn't come back because he'd grown brave. He came back because he was ashamed to be seen as the bad guy. Ava inhaled. Shakily, "Mark," she said, voice quiet but firm, "I'm not your lesson. I'm not your practice run." Mark's mouth opened. "I didn't mean," Ava lifted a hand gently, stopping him. "I know you didn't mean to hurt me," she said, "but you did." Mark's eyes started to Ethan, then to Lily, then back to Ava. "So, what, you're just going to sit here with strangers?" he snapped, frustration leaking out. Ethan's jaw tightened. Ava blinked. "Strangers saw me," she whispered. "You didn't." Mark scoffed, embarrassed. "Whatever," he muttered. "I tried." He turned sharply and walked out. Ava's chest shook with silent sobs that tried to escape. Ethan leaned forward, voice low and steady. "You did good," he said. Ava whispered. "It still hurts." Ethan nodded. "Of course it does," he said. "But you didn't beg. You didn't shrink. That matters." If you were in Ava's place, would you forgive Mark for walking out? Or would you protect your heart and let him go? Comment what you'd do. And if you believe dignity matters more than fear, hit like so Ava knows she wasn't alone tonight. Ava wiped her cheeks quickly. "I'm sorry," she whispered, embarrassed. Lily slid the cookie plate closer to Ava like a decision. "Eat," she said. "Food helps hearts." Ava laughed through tears. "Does it?" Lily nodded seriously. "My dad says you can't cry." "Good when your tummy is empty." Ethan let out a soft laugh, then his face grew thoughtful. He glanced at his phone. Ava noticed. "You need to go," she said gently. Ethan hesitated. "I'm supposed to pick Lily up from my sister's place soon," he admitted. "But she's already with me." He gave a small smile. Ava's eyes softened. "Single dad?" she asked. Ethan nodded. "Yeah," he said. "Just us." Ava looked at him, really looked, and saw something behind his. Tiredness. Grief. The kind you carry quietly so your child can stay light. Ava swallowed. "Where's her mom?" she asked carefully. Ethan's smile faded, but his voice stayed gentle. "Gone," he said simply. "A few years now." Ava's chest tightened. "I'm sorry," she whispered. Ethan nodded once. "Me too," he said. Lily reached for Ethan's hand without looking, like she already knew he was slipping into pain. Ethan squeezed her fingers lightly. Ava stared at their hands and felt something strange. Not romance. Not yet. Just hope. Because in a cafe where she'd been abandoned, she was now sitting with two people who didn't treat her like a tragedy. Outside, the rain got heavier. And somewhere deep inside Ava, a voice she hadn't heard in a long time whispered, "Maybe this night isn't ending the way you thought it would." The rain kept thickening outside, turning the streetlights into soft halos. Inside the cafe, the warm glow from the hanging lamps made everything feel quieter, as if the world had decided to hold its breath. Ava didn't realize how tense her body had been until Mark left. Now that the danger of humiliation was gone, the aftershock arrived, heavy, shaky, undeniable. Ethan pushed his coffee aside and glanced at Ava carefully. "Do you want us to stay, or do you want space?" he asked. Ava blinked, surprised by the question. "Most people didn't offer choices. They offered opinions," she swallowed. Stay, she admitted, voice small, just for a little. Lily nodded like it was settled business. She tore off a piece of cookie and held it out. Here, she said. This part has extra chocolate. Ava took it slowly, like her hands had forgotten how to accept anything without paying for it. She tasted the cookie and felt something loosen in her chest. Ethan watched Lily with a tired softness. She does that, he said quietly. When she thinks someone's hurting, Ava's throat tightened. She's kind, Ava whispered. Lily shrugged with child confidence. It's easy, she said. Then she looked at Ava's legs, just a quick glance, not rude, just curious. Does it hurt? Ethan's shoulders tensed. Ava lifted a hand gently. It's okay, she said. She exhaled slowly. Sometimes it hurts, she admitted, but mostly it's just different. Lily nodded, taking that in like a lesson. Different doesn't mean bad, she said. Ava's eyes burned again. You're right, she whispered. Ethan tilted his head slightly, studying Ava with a respect that didn't feel like pity. First date in a while? He asked softly. Ava nodded. 2 years, she admitted. Ethan didn't ask why. He just nodded like he understood the weight inside that number. Ava stared at the candle flame between them. I used to love dates, she whispered almost to herself. I used to love dressing up, walking into a room like I belonged there. Her voice caught on the word walking. She hated that it did. Ethan's expression didn't change, but his eyes softened. What happened? He asked quietly. Ava swallowed, fingers tightening around her cup. An accident, she said. A drunk driver. I was coming home from my sister's wedding rehearsal. She forced a breath. I woke up in a hospital, and everything below my waist felt gone. Lily's eyes widened. Did you cry? She asked, innocent and brutal. Ava laughed softly through her nose. Yes, she whispered. I cried until my throat hurt. Ethan's jaw tightened, like he was holding anger for a stranger. And the driver, he asked. Ava's mouth twisted. Alive, she said. He walked away. I didn't. Silence settled for a moment. The cafe music played on, but it felt far away. Ethan leaned back slightly, rubbing his thumb over Lily's small knuckles. That's not fair, he said, voice low. Ava nodded. That's what I keep learning, she whispered. Fair is a story we tell kids so they can sleep. Lily frowned. I sleep without that story, she said seriously. Ethan gave a small, sad smile. Yeah, he murmured. You do? Ava glanced at Ethan again and noticed something, how he sat slightly angled toward Lily, always ready. How his eyes flicked to the door every few minutes, like he expected trouble to walk in. How his shoulders stayed tense even while he smiled. You're always on guard, Ava said softly. Ethan paused. Habit, he admitted. Ava hesitated, then asked carefully, because of what happened to Lily's mom. Ethan's face went still for a second. His eyes didn't go blank, just distant, like they were watching a memory he never invited. She got sick, he said quietly. Fast. 1 month she was laughing. The next, he swallowed. Gone. Ava's chest tightened. I'm so sorry, she whispered. Ethan nodded once, as if sorry was the only word people ever had for grief. Me too, he said. Lily leaned her head against Ethan's arm. Mom's in the sky, she said, voice calm like she'd said it 1,000 times. But Dad still talks to her when he thinks I'm asleep? Ethan blinked hard. Hey, he murmured, embarrassed. Ava looked at Lily with gentle shock. That's sweet, she whispered. Lily shrugged. He misses her, she said simply. Then she looked at Ava. Do you miss walking? Ava's throat tightened again. She could have lied. She could have turned it into something polite. But the cafe felt different now, safe enough for truth. Yes, Ava whispered, every day. Ethan's eyes held hers, steady and quiet. Thank you for saying it out loud, he said softly. People act like pretending helps. Sometimes it just makes you lonelier, Ava swallowed. That's exactly it, she whispered. Have you ever had someone show up for you when you thought you were completely alone? If yes, right, yes, and tell me their name, because sometimes gratitude deserves a place to live. Ava stared down at the candy Lily had given her earlier. The wrapper crinkled softly under her fingers. You know what's crazy? Ava whispered. I almost didn't come tonight. I sat on my bed for 40 minutes, just staring at my chair, telling myself I was stupid for believing someone could want me like this. Ethan's voice was gentle but firm. And you still came, he said. That's not stupid, that's brave. Ava laughed bitterly. It didn't feel brave, she admitted. It felt like walking into a room where I might get punched. Ethan nodded. Brave usually feels like that, he said. Lily sat up straighter. My teacher says brave is doing it scared, she announced, proud. Ava smiled at her. Your teacher is smart, she said. Lily pointed her cookie like a microphone. And you're brave too, she said to Ava, because you didn't chase him. Ava's smile shook. I almost did, she admitted. Ethan's gaze softened. But you didn't, he said. You chose yourself. Ava stared at Ethan, and for a second, the room felt like it had shifted not into romance, but into something deeper. Recognition. Two adults carrying different kinds of loss, both tired of being treated like their pain made them less. The waiter returned with the receipt and Ava's card. He placed it down, then hesitated, glancing between them. Ava's stomach tightened again, reflexive, but Ethan spoke first, polite and steady. We're all together, he said simply. Thank you. The waiter's face softened. Of course, he said and walked away. Ava exhaled slowly. You just made that normal, she whispered. Ethan shrugged. It is normal, he said. People just forget. Outside, the rain eased slightly, like the sky was tired too. Ava looked at Ethan and Lily and felt something she hadn't felt in a long time. Not excitement, not fantasy. Just a quiet warmth in her chest that whispered, you're still here. You're still allowed to be here. And then Lily leaned closer to Ava and whispered, serious as a secret, my dad's going to say no. But I think you should come with us. Ava blinked. Come with you where? Lily's eyes flicked toward Ethan, then back to Ava. Home, she whispered. Just for a little. You look like you need a safe place. Ethan's head turned sharply. Lily, he warned softly. Ava's heart pounded. Because the offer was outrageous, and yet the loneliness inside her recognized it as something holy. Ethan's eyes widened, and for a second his tired face looked almost panicked. Lily, he said quietly, trying to keep his voice calm, we don't invite strangers home. Lily frowned like that rule personally offended her. She's not a stranger, she argued. She's Ava. Ethan let out a slow breath. That's still a stranger, he said softer. Ava felt her cheeks warm with embarrassment. It's okay, she said quickly, forcing a small smile. I don't want to make things awkward. But Lily's gaze stayed fixed on Ava, serious and stubborn. You're not awkward, she said. You're sad. Ava's throat tightened. She looked away, blinking fast. Ethan leaned forward, voice gentle. I'm sorry, he told Ava. She has a big heart. Sometimes it outruns the world. Ava managed a small laugh. It's a good problem, she whispered. Lily leaned closer to Ethan and whispered loudly, not understanding volume at all. Dad, when you were sad after Mom died, didn't you say you wanted someone to sit with you so you didn't feel like you were drowning? Ethan's face went still. Ava's chest tightened. Ethan swallowed hard and looked at Lily with a quiet warning in his eyes. Not here, he murmured. Lily blinked, realizing she'd stepped on something fragile. She lowered her head, suddenly. Small. Sorry, she whispered. Ava's heart broke for her. She reached out gently and touched Lily's hand. You don't have to be sorry, Ava said softly. You were trying to help. Lily looked up, eyes wet. I don't like when people leave, she whispered. Ava nodded, throat tight. Me neither, she whispered back. Ethan sat back, rubbing his forehead like he was trying to hold himself together. We should go, he said, more to himself than anyone. It's late. Ava's stomach dropped. She hated how quickly. Loneliness returned when kindness stepped away. She forced herself to smile anyway. Thank you, she said, both of you. You saved my night. Ethan shook his head. We just sat, he said. Ava's voice cracked. That's what saving looks like sometimes, she whispered. Ethan's expression softened. He nodded once. Like he understood too well. They stood, Ethan helping Lily into her jacket. Ava adjusted her shawl around her shoulders. The small movements felt heavier than they should. Ava hated the way her body always needed time, always needed planning. She hated the way the world moved faster than her, Ethan noticed. He didn't rush her. That alone felt like mercy. They headed toward the cafe door. Rain had thinned into a mist, the sidewalk shining under streetlights. Ethan opened the door and stepped outside first, scanning the street automatically like a man trained by hardship. Lily stepped out beside him. Ava rolled out carefully, wheels bumping slightly over. The threshold. And then a voice behind them. Sharp, mocking. Well, look at that. Ava froze. Mark stood across the street under the awning of a closed shop. He wasn't alone now. Two men stood near him, laughing like they were watching a show. Mark's eyes locked on Ava, then flicked to Ethan's uniform. His mouth twisted. So that's your move? He called out. Get pity points with a janitor and a kid. Ava's stomach turned to ice. Ethan's posture changed instantly, still calm but protective. Lily moved closer to Ethan, gripping his hand. Ava tried to keep her voice steady. Mark, stop, she said quietly. Mark laughed. Stop what? I'm just saying. He spread his hands, acting casual. I dodged a bullet, right? I mean, come on. Dating a wheelchair? That's a lifestyle. One of his friends snickered. Ava's cheeks burned. Her throat tightened. She felt that old familiar helplessness, like she was trapped in a spotlight. While people decided what she was worth. Ethan took one small step forward. That's enough, he said, voice low. Mark scoffed. Oh, the janitor's her hero now, he said loudly. What are you gonna do, mop me to death? His friends laughed again. Lily's small voice suddenly cut through the laughter. Your mom would be embarrassed, she said. Everyone froze. Mark blinked. What? Lily's eyes were wet but brave. My teacher says when you make someone feel small, it means you feel small inside, she said. You must be really tiny. Ethan's throat tightened. Lily, he murmured, half warning, half proud. Mark's face reddened. Shut up, he snapped at her. Ethan's voice went sharp. Don't talk to her, he said, stepping forward again. Mark lifted his chin. Or what? He challenged. You're going to hit me? In front of everyone? Go ahead, prove your trash. Ava's breath caught. Ethan didn't move. He didn't swing. He didn't shout. He did something smarter. He pulled out his phone and he hit record. Mark's smile faltered. What are you doing? Ethan's eyes stayed steady. Say it again, he said quietly. Say what you said about her. Say it clearly. Mark hesitated. His friend shifted uncomfortably. Ava stared at Ethan, stunned. This wasn't anger. This was protection. Mark scoffed, trying to recover. Oh, please. Like anyone cares. Ethan nodded slowly. "You're right," he said. "Most people won't care." Then Ethan lifted the phone slightly, framing Mark's face perfectly. "But the internet will," he said calmly. Mark's expression changed. Fear. Ava felt her heart pound. She hated the idea of becoming a viral joke, but she also hated being powerless. Mark stepped forward, hand lifting like he wanted to grab the phone. "Turn that off," he snapped. Ethan didn't flinch. He backed up half a step, keeping distance. "Touch me," Ethan said, voice cold now, "and this becomes assault. Smile for the camera." Mark's friends grabbed his arm. "Bro, leave it," one of them muttered. "Not worth it." Mark's jaw clenched. His eyes flicked to Ava 1. Last attempt to shame her. "Have fun," he spat, then turned and stormed away with his friends. The street went quiet again. Ava's body shook with adrenaline. She exhaled a breath she didn't know she'd been holding. Ethan lowered the phone and turned to Ava, his voice soft instantly. "You okay?" he asked. Ava swallowed. Her voice broke. "I hate that I can't stand up." Ethan shook his head firmly. "You stood up," he said gently. "With your voice, with your dignity." Ava's eyes filled. "It didn't feel like enough," she whispered. Ethan's gaze held hers. "It was enough," he said, "because you didn't let him write the ending. Now it's your turn. Share one small good thing you did recently. Hold a door, send a kind message, help someone without being asked. Write it below, because your kindness might remind someone that the world still has gentle people in it." Ava wiped her cheeks quickly, breathing hard. Lily hugged Ava's arm lightly, careful of the chair. "I told him," she whispered. Ava laughed through tears. "You did," she whispered back. "You were very brave." Lily shrugged, but her lip trembled. "I was scared," she admitted. Ava looked at her. "That's what bravery is," Ava said softly. "Doing it scared?" Ethan glanced down the street, still alert. "Let's get you home," he said too. Ava's chest tightened. I don't really have anyone home," she admitted quietly. "Just me." Ethan hesitated, and Ava saw the conflict rules, safety, boundaries. Then Lily whispered, almost pleading, "Dad." Ethan closed his eyes for a second, fighting something inside him. When he opened them, his voice was gentle but firm. "Ava," he said, "I can't invite you to my place. It's not safe or right." Ava forced a smile, disappointment punching her. "Of course," she whispered, "I understand." Ethan quickly added, "But I can take you somewhere safe." Ava blinked. "Where?" Ethan swallowed. "My sister runs a small community center nearby," he said. "It's open late." "There. Are people there? Lights? Security cameras?" "And you won't be alone." Ava's heart pounded. Not because it was romantic, because it was human. She nodded slowly. "Okay," she whispered. Ethan offered to push her chair, careful and respectful. Ava hesitated, then allowed it, and as they moved down the wet sidewalk together, single dad, little girl, and a woman who'd been left behind, Ava realized something. The night that started with humiliation was turning into the first night. She felt seen. The community center sat on a quiet corner 2 blocks away, tucked between a closed laundromat and a small grocery store with flickering lights. It wasn't fancy. The sign was slightly crooked. The front steps had chipped paint, but the windows were bright, warm, alive. Ethan pushed Ava's wheelchair carefully up the ramp, his hand steady on the handles like he'd done it before, like he understood that dignity lived inside small gestures, asking first, moving slowly, not yanking. Lily skipped beside them, holding Ava's shawl ends in both hands, like she was guarding something important. Ava's chest tightened as the door opened. Inside, the center smelled like soup and crayons. A few folding tables stood in the corner with half-finished art projects. On one couch, an older man slept under a blanket with a book open on his chest. A teenage boy sat near a wall outlet charging his phone. Eyes tired. It was a place for people who didn't have perfect lives. Ava felt her shoulders drop. Just being in a room where nobody pretended. A woman emerged from a back office, early 40s. Strong posture, warm eyes that turned sharp the second she saw Ethan's face. "Ethan?" she said. "Why are you?" Then her eyes flicked to Ava's tear-stained cheeks, to Lily's trembling hands, to Ethan's tense shoulders. Her expression changed instantly. "What happened?" she asked. Ethan exhaled. "Nina," he said quietly. "This is Ava. She had a rough night." Nina's gaze softened. "Hi, Ava," she said warmly. "Come on in." "You're safe here," Ava swallowed. "Thank you," she whispered. Nina led them to a small table near a space heater. She pulled out a chair for Ethan and Lily, then grabbed a blanket from a shelf and draped it gently across Ava's legs without making it feel like she was being babied. Lily watched, impressed. "You're like a blanket ninja," she whispered. Nina chuckled. "Years of practice," she said. Ethan finally sat, rubbing his face with both hands like his body was catching up to the emotional fight of the night. Nina poured hot tea for Ava, cocoa for Lily, and coffee for Ethan without asking, like she already knew what their souls needed. Ava held the cup carefully. "This place is nice," she said softly. Nina shrugged. "It's not nice," she said honestly, "but it's warm. And sometimes warm is enough." Ava's eyes burned again. Lily sipped cocoa, then looked at Ava seriously. "Are you gonna be okay?" she asked. Ava tried to answer, but her throat tightened. Ethan spoke gently. "She will be," he said. "Not tonight maybe, but she will." Ava looked at him. His eyes were tired, but his voice held something steady, like he had learned how to speak hope, even when he didn't fully believe it. Nina glanced between them. "Was it the date?" she asked Ava softly. Ava nodded once, and the humiliation rushed back up her chest like acid. "He left," she whispered. "Then he came back to make it worse." Nina's eyes hardened. "He came back?" she repeated, disgusted. Lily lifted her chin proudly. "Dad recorded him," she announced. "And I told him he was tiny." Ava laughed weakly. Ethan sighed, half amused, half exhausted. "She did," he admitted. Nina stared at Lily for a moment, then nodded. "Good," she said simply. Ava's smile faded. "I hate how much it hurt," she whispered. "It's stupid. It shouldn't matter that some man couldn't handle me." Ethan shook his head gently. "It's not stupid," he said. "It's human." Ava swallowed. "I was a physical therapist," she said quietly, like she'd never said it out loud to strangers before. "Before the accident, I helped people walk again. I helped them build strength. And then I woke up and I couldn't feel my own legs." Her voice cracked. It felt like a joke. Ethan's eyes softened. "That's not a joke," he said. "That's cruel." Ava nodded. "And the worst part is..." She stared at the tea. "People stop seeing me as a woman. They see a wheelchair first." Nina reached across the table, touching Ava's hand gently. "I see a woman," she said firmly. "A tired one, but still a woman." Ava's breath shook. Ethan watched Ava's face, then glanced away like he didn't want to stare, but also didn't want her to feel invisible. Lily looked between them, thinking hard. "My dad says when someone's mean, it's because their heart is hungry," she said. "Mark's heart is like starving." Ethan blinked. "Lily," he murmured, half warning, half proud again. Nina exhaled a slow breath. "Kid's not wrong," she said. The room settled into a soft hush for the first time all night. Ava felt her body stop bracing for the next slap. And in that quiet, something inside her opened. She whispered, "I came tonight because I wanted to prove I could still be chosen." Ethan's chest tightened, Ava's eyes filled, and when he left, it felt like confirmation, she whispered, like the universe saying, see? Nobody wants the broken girl. Ethan leaned forward, slightly, voice gentle but steady. Ava, he said, you're not broken. You're injured. There's a difference. Ava stared at him, because no one had ever said it like that. Nina nodded, voice firm. Exactly, she said. Ava swallowed. Then why does it feel like the world punishes injured people? She whispered. Ethan's eyes went distant for a second. Because the world is scared, he said quietly. Injury reminds people they don't control anything. Ava's throat tightened. And you, she asked softly, what are you scared of? Ethan's jaw flexed. He glanced at Lily still, sipping cocoa, crumbs on her lips, small and precious. Then he whispered, so quietly Ava almost missed it, I'm scared that Lily will grow up thinking love always leaves. Ava's heart cracked open. If that moment hit you hard, leave it. Sometimes we don't cry because of what happened tonight. We cry because it touches the deepest fear we carry every day. Ava's voice shook. Does she think that? She asked. Ethan swallowed. Sometimes, he admitted. She's brave, but she's watched loss. It changes a kid. Ava nodded slowly. I know, she whispered. Loss changes everyone. Lily suddenly yawned dramatically. My eyeballs are tired, she announced, sliding down in her chair. Nina chuckled. We've got a small room in the back, she said. Ethan, you can let her sleep there for a bit. Ava can stay as long as she needs. Ethan hesitated. Nina waved him off. Stop, she said. This is what this place is for. Ethan stood and lifted Lily gently. Lily wrapped her arms around his neck immediately, half asleep. As Ethan carried her toward the back room, Ava watched him, how careful he was, how tender, how his whole body softened around his child. Nina stayed at the table with Ava. You're safe here, Nina said softly. Ava nodded. Thank you, she whispered. Nina's eyes sharpened slightly. But I should tell you something, she added, voice lower now. Ava blinked. What? Nina glanced toward the door, then back at Ava. That guy who came back, she said quietly, the one named Mark. I've seen him before. Ava's stomach turned cold. Where? She whispered. Nina's mouth tightened. Outside the center, she said. Months ago, he was asking questions about women, about who comes here alone. Ava's breath caught. Nina leaned closer. I didn't like his eyes, she whispered. And tonight, the way you described him coming back with friends. Ava's hands trembled on the cup. Nina's voice was firm now. Ava, I don't think he came back just to be cruel. Ava's heart hammered. Then why? She whispered. Nina's eyes held hers. Because he wanted to see if you were alone, she said. Ava went ice-cold. Because suddenly, Mark's cruelty didn't feel like ego. It felt like something darker. And Ethan and Lily, sweet, kind, innocent, were in the building. Too, Ava's voice came out thin. Nina, she whispered, lock the door. Nina was already moving. Nina moved fast, but she didn't panic. That was the difference between someone who had lived around danger and someone who had only watched it on screens. She crossed the room, flipped the deadbolt, then slid a thick metal bar into place under the handle. The door clicked shut with a final sound that made Ava's stomach drop. Ava gripped her teacup so hard her fingers ached. You really think he was checking if I was alone? She whispered. Nina nodded once. I've worked here long enough to know the difference between a rude man and a hunting man, she said quietly, and he had hunting eyes. Ava's throat went dry. From the back hallway, Ethan returned, wiping his hands on his hoodie, hair slightly messy from settling Lily. Down. Is everything okay? he asked, noticing Nina's posture, noticing Ava's face. Nina didn't sugarcoat it. "That guy from earlier, Mark, he's been around the center before," she said, asking questions. Ethan's jaw tightened. "Questions about what?" "Women," Nina answered. "Who comes here alone? Who waits outside? Who doesn't have anyone?" Ava felt sick. "I thought he was just shallow," she whispered. Ethan's eyes sharpened, anger simmering under his calm. "Sometimes shallow is a mask," he said. Nina lifted her phone. "I'm calling the police," she said. Ethan nodded. "Do it." Ava's chest tightened with fear. "He knows where we are?" She whispered. Nina's face was hard. "If he followed you from the cafe, maybe," she admitted. "Or maybe he saw the direction you went." "Either way," she gestured around. "We're not making it easy." The community center felt different now. The warm lights still glowed. The sleeping man on the couch still breathed. The teenager still scrolled his phone. But underneath it all, a thin wire of danger hummed. Ava looked toward the back hallway. "Lily's asleep?" she asked. Ethan nodded, voice low. She crashed the second her head hit the pillow. Ava swallowed, pain and fear mixing. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "If I never came here." Ethan cut her off gently. "Stop," he said. "This isn't your fault. You don't apologize for being targeted." Ava blinked fast, trying not to cry again. Nina spoke into her phone quietly, giving an address. "Yes," she said. "Possible threat. We've locked down." Ethan stepped closer to the windows. He didn't press his face to them, just stood near enough to see without being seen. Ava watched him and realized Ethan didn't look like a hero in movies. He looked like a father who had learned the world could turn cruel at any second, and still chose to protect anyway. A sudden sound outside made Ava's whole body tense. A car door. Then footsteps. Nina's hand lifted, signaling silence. Ethan's eyes narrowed. Ava's heart slammed so hard she felt it in her throat. Through the front window, under the streetlight's orange glow, a figure moved on the sidewalk. A man. Hood up, hands in his pockets. He paused near the community center door like he was confirming that address. Ava's breath stopped. Nina whispered, "Turn the lights down." The teenager near the wall looked up, finally sensing the tension. "What's going on?" He whispered. "Help," Nina murmured firmly. "Switch off the front lamps now." The teen moved quickly, crossing to a row of switches. The room dimmed. Shadows stretched out outside. The man looked up. Ava's stomach dropped, even from this distance. She knew the shape of his posture, the way his head tilted. It was Mark. He stepped closer to the door. Ava watched his hand reach for the handle. It didn't budge. He tried again. Harder. The metal bar held. Mark stepped back, irritated. Then he looked toward the window, scanning like a predator sniffing air. Ava shrank instinctively, though her chair kept her visible in her own mind. She hated that feeling, being trapped in sight. Ethan stepped in front of her slightly, blocking her from the window. Nina held her phone tight. "Police are on the way," she whispered. Mark walked to the window. His face came into the light, and he smiled. Not a friendly smile. A smile that said, "I know you're in there." Ava's blood turned cold. Mark lifted his phone and began recording the building, panning slowly like he was collecting evidence for later. Then he raised his free hand and knocked on the glass. Tap, tap, tap. Ava's body shook. Mark mouthed something through the window. Ethan leaned slightly to read it. 3 words, slow and clear. "Come out, Ava." Ava's throat tightened. "He knows my name," she whispered, horror spreading. Nina's voice was cold. "Of course he does," she whispered. "That's why he came back." Mark turned his head slightly and looked deeper into the room, as if searching for other faces. His eyes landed on Ethan. The smile faded. Then Mark's mouth moved again, slow, threatening. "Who's the kid?" Ethan's body went rigid. Ava felt like she couldn't breathe, because now it wasn't just about Ava. It was about Lily. Mark stepped back from the window and pulled out something from his pocket. It glinted under the streetlight, a small knife, not huge, not dramatic. But real enough to make everyone inside go still. Nina whispered, "Don't move." The sleeping man on the couch woke up abruptly, confused. "What?" The teen grabbed him gently and whispered, "Quiet, please." Mark walked to the door again and scratched the knife lightly against the metal frame, making a slow, horrible sound. Ava's stomach churned. Ethan's fists clenched. Ava whispered, voice shaking, "What does he want?" Ethan's voice was low, furious. "Control," he murmured. "Fear." Nana's phone buzzed. A message from the police. 2 minutes out. 2 minutes felt like a lifetime. Mark stopped scratching. He looked around, listening. Then he shouted, not too loud, but loud enough. "Ava, you embarrass me. Come out and apologize." Ava's chest tightened. He wanted her to believe this was about pride, about a bruised ego. He wanted the world to see him as just an angry date, not a predator. Nina whispered, "He's performing," she said. "Trying to make himself look normal if anyone hears." Ethan looked at Ava and spoke quietly, steady. "Whatever happens," he said, "you don't go with him. You hear me?" Ava nodded, tears rolling. Ethan's voice softened. "You're not alone," he whispered. "Not now. Be honest, could you forgive someone who tried to terrify you like this? Type, forgive if you believe people can change, or never if you think some harm can't be undone." "There's no wrong answer, only your truth." Outside, Mark suddenly stepped away from the door. He looked down the street. His posture changed. He heard sirens. He pocketed the knife fast. Then he forced his face into a different expression, angry, messy, heartbroken. Right as 2 police cars turned the corner, Mark lifted his hands, acting shocked, acting innocent, acting like the victim. Officer Ramirez stepped out first, scanning the scene. "Sir," he called, "step away from the building." Mark raised, his voice loud now for anyone to hear. "I'm just trying to talk to my girlfriend," he shouted. "She's locked herself in there and won't answer." "I'm worried." Ava's throat tightened. Ethan whispered, "Liar." Officer Ramirez approached cautiously. "Put your hands where I can see them," he ordered. Mark did, smiling like he'd won, but Officer Ramirez didn't relax. He pointed toward the window. "Nina," he called, "open up." Nina moved quickly, unbolting the door but keeping the bar ready. Officer Ramirez stepped inside, eyes scanning faces. "Everyone okay?" he asked. Ava nodded shakily, voice trembling. "He had a knife," she whispered. Officer Ramirez's gaze snapped back to Mark. Mark's smile faltered. The second officer moved behind Mark. "Hands behind your back," he said. Mark tried to protest. "This is insane." Officer Ramirez's voice turned cold. "We have a report of you stalking this center," he said. "And we have witnesses." Mark's face hardened. "She's lying," he spat, pointing at Ava. "She's crazy." Ethan stepped forward, voice steady. "No," he said. "She's terrified." "And you did that." Officer Ramirez looked at Ethan. "You saw the knife?" he asked. Ethan nodded. "I heard it scrape," he said. "And I saw him pull it out." Officer Ramirez exhaled sharply. "Search him," he ordered. The officer patted Mark down and pulled the knife from his pocket. Mark's face went gray. Ava's body shook with relief, so intense it almost hurt. Officer Ramirez looked at Mark like he'd seen this type before. "You're under arrest," he said. Mark's eyes burned with hatred as he was handcuffed out as they led him away. He twisted his head toward Ava and hissed through his teeth, low enough for only her to hear. "This isn't over." Ava froze. "Officer?" Ramirez snapped, "Keep walking." But the words stayed with Ava like poison, because relief is never clean. It always leaves fear behind. And now Ava had to face the biggest question of all. How do you go back to life after someone shows you how close danger can get? The police lights painted the community center walls in slow flashes red, blue like the building itself had a heartbeat. Mark was gone, shoved into the back of a cruiser, still shouting nonsense about misunderstandings and crazy women, still trying to sound like the victim. But the moment the car doors slammed and the sirens faded, the silence that followed felt almost louder. Ava sat frozen at the table, hands in her lap, staring at a spot on the wall as if her mind couldn't. Except that the danger had moved away. Nina placed a hand on her shoulder. "He's gone," she whispered. Ava nodded, but her body didn't believe it. Ethan stood near the hallway, watching the back room where Lily slept. His shoulders were still raised, like he expected another knock, another shadow, another threat. Officer Ramirez stepped back inside, removing his hat. His expression was tired but firm. "We've got him," he said. Knife in pocket, prior reports connected to the center. "He's not walking away tonight." Ava's breath shook. "He said it isn't over," she whispered. Officer Ramirez's eyes narrowed. "He says that to scare you," he said. "It's part of the control." He softened his voice. "But we take it seriously anyway." Nina crossed her arms. "What happens next?" she asked. Officer Ramirez glanced around the room, then at Ava. "We'll file this as aggravated stalking with a weapon," he said. "And we'll look into his connections." His gaze shifted to Ethan. "But I need to talk to you too." Ethan's jaw tightened. "Me?" Officer Ramirez nodded. "He asked who's the kid while he was outside," he said. "That means he noticed your daughter." Ethan went cold. Ava's throat tightened. "I'm sorry," she whispered again, like apologizing could rewind time. Ethan looked at her, steady. "Stop saying sorry," he said gently. "You didn't bring him. He chose you." Officer Ramirez rubbed his face. "Listen," he said, serious. "For the next few days, you both need to be careful. Change routines. Don't walk alone. And," he looked at Ethan again, "if you have anywhere safer to stay than your apartment, use it." Ethan swallowed hard. "I don't," he admitted. Nina's voice cut in instantly. "They can stay here," she said. "We've got locked doors. And people." Officer Ramirez nodded. "That's good for tonight," he said. "But long term?" Ethan stared at the floor. Long term was always the hardest part for poor people. Long term required resources, time, safety nets. Ava's voice came out small. "I have an apartment," she whispered. "It's accessible. It's in a building with cameras. I live alone." Ethan looked up, surprised. Ava's cheeks warmed. "I'm not saying..." She swallowed. "I'm not saying move in. I'm just saying, if you needed a safer place for Lily while this is happening, my building has security." Ethan's throat tightened, not with romance, but with gratitude and discomfort. Accepting help always felt like stepping into someone else's space. Officer Ramirez looked between them. "That's a kind offer," he said. "And right now, kindness is a real tool." Ava's eyes filled. "I don't want Lily to be scared because of me," she whispered. Ethan's voice softened. "She's already scared sometimes," he said, gently, "but she's also strong." He paused. "And she likes you." Ava's lips trembled. "I like her too," she whispered. From the back hallway, a small voice came, sleepy and confused. "Dad." Ethan moved instantly. Lily appeared in the doorway, hair messy, eyes half closed, clutching the one-eyed dinosaur. She blinked at the room's tense faces. "Why are there police lights?" she whispered. Ethan crouched to her. "It's okay, Bug," he said softly. "The police helped us." Lily's brows knitted. "Did the mean man come back?" she asked. Ava's heart cracked. Ethan hesitated, then nodded once, honest. He did, he said, but he's gone now. Lily's mouth trembled. She tried to be brave, but she was 7. Fear still found cracks. She whispered, "Did he have a knife?" Ava's breath caught. Ethan's eyes widened. "How, Lily?" Shrugged, voice shaky. "I heard grown-up whispering," she said, "and I had a bad dream. In my dream, he had a shiny thing." Ava's eyes filled with tears. She hated that Lily's innocence had to carry that picture. Ethan pulled Lily into his arms. "He can't hurt you," he whispered fiercely. "Not while I'm here." Lily whispered into his shoulder, "I don't like bad people." Ethan kissed her hair. "Me neither," he murmured. Lily pulled back and looked at Ava. "Are you okay?" she asked, brave again, trying to take care of someone else, even while trembling herself. Ava smiled through tears. "I'm okay," she whispered. "Because you and your dad were here?" Lily nodded slowly, like that made sense. Then she looked at Officer Ramirez's badge. "Are you a real police?" she asked. Officer Ramirez crouched slightly and smiled gently. "Yes," he said. "Real." Lily stared at him for a moment, then whispered, "Thank you for catching him." Officer Ramirez's smile softened. "You're welcome," he said. "And you know what? You were brave too tonight." Lily blinked. "I was asleep," she said. Confused, Officer Ramirez shook his head. "Bravery isn't just fighting," he said. "Sometimes it's being scared and still trusting the good people around you." Lily looked down, thinking hard. Then she did something that surprised everyone. She walked over to Ava and reached up, placing a small hand on Ava's arm. "You can come to our table anytime," Lily whispered, "even if there's no date." Ava's chest cracked open. She nodded, tears slipping down. "I would like that," she whispered, "if you believe love still wins after fear. After humiliation, after the night tries to break you, comment amen. Let's fill this moment with hope, because someone watching might be trembling the way Ava is right now." Officer Ramirez stood. "I need statements," he said to Ava and Ethan. "Then I'll escort you to wherever you're staying tonight." Nina nodded. "They'll stay here," she said. "And tomorrow we'll figure out next steps." After the paperwork, after the officers left, the center fell quiet again. Nina locked the doors twice. The teen went back to his phone. The older man fell asleep again. Ethan set up a small mattress in the back room for Lily. Ava stayed at the table a little longer, staring into her cooling tea. Ethan approached her slowly. "Ava," he said softly. She looked up. Ethan's voice was careful. "What you offered earlier about your building," he said. "I don't want to intrude, but Lily deserves a place where she can sleep without sirens outside." Ava swallowed. "You wouldn't be intruding," she whispered. "It's just an apartment, not a palace." Ethan gave a small, tired smile. "A safe apartment sounds like a palace to me," he admitted. Ava's eyes burned. "Then come," she said softly, "at least for a few days." Ethan nodded slowly, relief and guilt mixing on his face. "Thank you," he whispered. Ava hesitated, then asked the question that had been quietly sitting in her chest since the cafe. "Ethan," she whispered, "why did you stop tonight? Why did you come to my table at all?" Ethan stared at the floor, then up at her. His eyes shined. "Because you look like someone who is about to disappear," he said quietly. "And I know what it feels like when the world lets you disappear." Ava's chest tightened. Ethan's voice grew softer. "My wife disappeared in a hospital room," he whispered. "And sometimes I feel like I'm disappearing too, just slowly. Working, surviving, not feeling anything." Ava's tears fell. Ethan took a shaky breath. "But tonight," he whispered, "Lily saw me choose kindness, and that matters more than any paycheck." Ava nodded, unable to speak, because suddenly the story wasn't just about her being left out. It was about two wounded lives colliding and refusing to let each other vanish. Morning came gently, like the world was trying to apologize. A thin line of sunlight slipped through the community center's blinds and landed on the table where Ava's cold tea still sat. The rain had stopped. Overnight, the streets outside looked washed clean, but Ava's body still carried the memory of Mark's smile at the glass. Ethan woke up on a chair he never truly slept in. His neck hurt. His hands were still half clenched, even in rest. Lily was on the small mattress in the back room, curled around her one-eyed dinosaur like it was a guard dog. When Ethan checked her, she blinked awake and whispered, "Bad man." "Gone." Ethan kissed her forehead. "Gone," he promised, but he didn't feel fully sure until Officer Ramirez returned in the late morning. He arrived with 2 officers and a calm expression that felt like medicine. "We held him," he said. "He's being charged, and we found more." Ava's stomach tightened. "More?" she whispered. Officer Ramirez nodded. "He's connected to online groups that target vulnerable women," he said. "Screenshots, messages, plans." His jaw tightened. "You weren't the first person he tried to humiliate." Ava's breath shook, part relief, part horror. Ethan's voice went low. "So it wasn't just ego," he muttered. Officer Ramirez shook his head. "No," he said. "It was hunting." Ava looked down at her hands. She felt sick thinking about how close she'd been to walking out alone last night. How close she'd been to believing she deserved it. Officer Ramirez softened his tone. "Ava, you did the right thing by not leaving that cafe with him," he said. "And by coming here. He wanted you isolated." Ava nodded, swallowing hard. Nina handed Ava and Ethan a form to sign, then looked at Ethan. "What now?" she asked quietly. Ethan looked at Lily, awake now, sitting on the mattress, rubbing her eyes. He took a slow breath. Ava offered her place, he said carefully, "for a few days, until the dust settles." Nina studied Ava's face, then nodded once. "Good," she said. "Safe building, cameras, neighbors." Ava felt Ethan's hesitation like a weight. She understood it. Letting people in was hard when life had trained you to lock every door. So she spoke gently, without pressure. "You can say no," she told Ethan. "I won't be offended." Ethan shook his head slowly. "I'm not saying no," he whispered. "I'm just not used to being offered anything without a price." Ava's eyes filled. "The only price," she whispered, "is that you let kindness exist without fighting it." Ethan stared at her, chest tight. Lily waddled into the main room, still sleepy, and looked between them. "Are we going to Ava's house?" she asked. Ethan crouched. "For a little," he said, "so you can sleep better." Lily nodded seriously. Then she looked at Ava. "Do you have cookies?" she asked, blunt. Ava laughed, surprised. "I do," she said. Lily smiled like the world was healing. "Okay," she said, "then it's safe." They left the center with Officer Ramirez escorting them to their cars. Ava's accessible van waited in the lot. Ethan helped Lily into the seat, buckling her carefully. Ava drove. Ethan sat in the passenger seat, still watching streets, still scanning corners. Habit and fear mixed together. When they reached Ava's apartment building, Ethan's shoulders dropped slightly. There was a guard at the door. Cameras overhead. Bright lobby lights. Ava swiped her keycard and held the door for them. "Welcome," she said softly. Inside her apartment, everything was simple but clean. A cozy couch. A shelf of physical therapy books. Framed photos. Ava standing in scrubs before the accident, smiling wide like the world couldn't touch her. Ethan noticed those photos but didn't comment. He understood that looking too long could feel like pity. Ava pointed to a small guest room. "Lily can sleep there," she said, "or on the couch if she wants." Lily walked in, looked around, then announced, "This is a good house." Ethan smiled. It's an apartment, he corrected gently. Lily shrugged. Still a house, she insisted, because it feels warm. Ava's throat tightened. Later, while Lily watched cartoons, Ethan stood by Ava's kitchen counter holding a mug of coffee like it was an anchor. He stared out the window for a long time. Ava waited, not rushing him. Finally, Ethan spoke, voice low. Last night, he said, when he asked who the kid was, I felt something in me turn into ice. Ava nodded slowly. Me too, she whispered. Ethan's eyes shined. I hate that the world can reach into our lives like that, he said. One cruel person and suddenly everything feels unsafe. Ava swallowed hard. I hate that I believed him, she admitted. When he left, part of me thought I deserved it. Ethan turned toward her firm. You didn't, he said. Ava's voice cracked. I know that in my head, she whispered. But my heart is still learning. Ethan nodded, understanding. Mine too, he admitted. Ava hesitated, then said the thing that had been growing inside her. Since the cafe. Ethan, she whispered, you didn't save me by fighting him. You saved me by sitting down. Ethan blinked, throat tight. Ava continued softly, when everyone else looked away. You let me be human in front of you. You didn't make my chair the whole story. Ethan's voice trembled. Because I didn't see a chair, he whispered. I saw someone trying not to break. Ava's eyes filled. Ethan swallowed hard. And Lily, she saw it too, he said. She learned something tonight that I've been trying to teach her since her mom died. Ava whispered, what? Ethan looked toward the living room where Lily laughed at the TV. Free for a moment, he whispered, that love doesn't always leave. If this story moved you, don't scroll past quietly. Tap like, not for me, but for Ava, who carried humiliation and still stayed kind. For Ethan, who showed his daughter what real men do. And for Lily, a little girl who turned a broken night into hope. One click is your way of saying, I felt you. Moral. Some people walk out when life gets hard, but the right people walk in. Not to fix you, not to pity you, just to sit beside you until you remember you still belong in the world.